Welcome to Jackets TV 2013 draft coverage presented by Fox Sports Ohio. I'm Bob McElligott alongside of Jeff Rimer, and we get ever so closer to the draft, which is coming up on Sunday in New Jersey. Today, Jeff, we had a chance to go over on the New Jersey side where some of the top prospects, top draft prospects were available for some media coverage to answer some questions. Boy, they answered a lot of questions today, but the big question remains, who's going to be the number one overall?
Well, if you listen to what the consensus is, it will be Nathan MacKinnon, but that's not the way it always was, Bob. Certainly over the course of the hockey season, we heard Seth Jones, and it really wasn't until after the Memorial Cup that solidified MacKinnon as the number one overall pick, although there could be some gamesmanship, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But the Avs may be kind of throwing out some feelers there to see if anybody wants to perhaps take that number one pick, and if they're willing to give something up. Calgary reportedly has already offered their 3 first-round picks, turned down, by the way, by Colorado.
Now, as far as the players themselves go, how do they feel? Does Nathan MacKinnon feel that he should be the number one overall, or does Seth Jones feel that his career is going to be damaged if he's not the number one overall? Here's what they say.
Yeah, you don't want to dwell on it, but I'd love to go first. That's not a secret. I've made it clear that I'm a very competitive guy, and naturally you want to go first overall, and definitely be a huge accomplishment and a very big honor, but nothing set in stone or anything, and I don't want to get my expectations too high.
I know, number one's special, but at the same time, there are a lot of great players that haven't gone number one and have gone on to have great careers.
Well, and as we sit just 48 hours before the draft, Jeff, it's one of your favorite times of the year because there are rumors floating all around as to what teams might do, or really what they might want to do, because everybody's kind of sitting back right now. But what are you hearing?
Well, first of all, on this number one overall pick, I'm still not convinced that Colorado is going to take MacKinnon number one overall. In fact, they may be looking at Florida at number 2 and perhaps seeing if Florida wants MacKinnon when, in fact, they want the young Denver born and raised part of his life, Seth Jones, as that number one overall pick. So perhaps some gamesmanship going on there. Certainly Letang in Pittsburgh drawing a lot of interest from other hockey clubs because Pittsburgh's having a difficult time signing him right now. He turned down 2 offers alone yesterday. Might he be a player to be traded? You and I had a great discussion with members of the Toronto media who always have every player going to Toronto. David Clarkson, who you and I talked about several weeks ago, has a home in Etobicoke, a suburb of Toronto. He's already committed to going to the Leafs, although he's not an unrestricted free agent until July the 5th. And certainly the other player that certainly has created quite a stir amongst the Toronto media is Letang himself.
Well, and for Chris Letang, he's in a situation similar to what Jordan Staal was in last year, where Ray Shero decided to deal him at the draft instead of letting him play out that final year. There are a couple of differences here. Jordan Staal had really made it known that he wanted to play with his brother in Carolina, so the 2 teams worked out a deal. With Letang, this seems to be pretty much all about the money.
Well, hold on a second here now as well. You're right about the money, but I'm wondering right now, having talked to a couple of scouts, would Letang be in play for a possible trade by Pittsburgh to Colorado for that number one overall pick? I can't imagine 2 Cole Harbour, Nova Scotia youngsters, one, of course, a Cage veteran now in Sidney Crosby, and the young protege, MacKinnon, both on that Pittsburgh Hockey Club. I'm not suggesting it's a rumor, but it was suggested by a scout today that could be something in play. French-Canadian Letang, and you certainly have that influence now with Patrick Waugh. Wouldn't that create quite a stir?
Well, with the Blue Jackets right now, all is still quiet. I'm sure it's not quiet behind the scenes where Jarmo Kekalainen's phone, I'm sure, is ringing and he's talking to other people. But right now, the Blue Jackets still sitting with those 3 first-round picks.
Well, they are, although they are in play. If the Jackets can improve the hockey club, both Jarmo Kekalainen and team president of hockey operations, John Davidson, have made it very clear that they would be willing to trade 1, 2, and perhaps even all 3 picks if it could help the hockey club immediately, be it move up, be it for a player or 2. Understand, there is a new salary cap, a lower cap, $64.3 million next year. There are 3 new general managers in the National Hockey League, and we could see come Sunday and even before a flurry of activity.
Brad Richards in New York. Is he going to be out? Is he not going to be bought out? Here we are in the Big Apple right now, and that becomes a story.
And it is a story, and as Glenn Sather stated late yesterday, they are now going to make their decision. It could come as we produce this piece. He is still a member of the New York Rangers, but understand one thing. If he gets hurt next year and they do not use the buyout this year, they could buy him out next year. But if he's injured, they would have to keep him for the duration of the contract. And does that maybe force New York to buy him out? I've already heard that if that's in fact the case, with LeCavalier being bought out yesterday by Tampa Bay, Brad Richards could return to his home of glory, and that is Tampa, where he won a Stanley Cup.
Well, I'm sure there will be plenty more rumors here in the next day or so leading up to the draft, which is coming up on Sunday at 3 o'clock in New Jersey. So that's today's coverage of the 2013 draft here on Jackets TV. It's presented by Fox Sports Ohio. And for Jeff Rimmer, I'm Bob McElligott. Thanks for watching Jackets TV.